Right, so if you've been watching DBD and following it for many years, you probably have fond memories of the previous year anniversaries. We had the amazing reveal of Pyramid Head for year 4, the very, very nice high point of introducing Nemesis and the Resident Evil chapter for year 5. Year 6 was The Dredge, which I know didn't excite people quite as much, but still, I think they had like 50,000 people watching when this was released. But then this year was different. This year on Twitch they had close to half of that viewership, and the hype, the excitement just wasn't quite there. And it had almost nothing to do with the content of the stream itself, and everything to do with the leaks that happened prior. If you're not aware, a few days or even a full week before this event was scheduled to happen, a press kit that was sent out to someone that had been trusted was leaked, and basically all of the important information, including trailers, pictures, roadmaps, everything important was just leaked and shown to the public. They even had to stream the event a few days in advance so that, people wouldn't have as much time to see all the leaks. So that was a huge disaster, and it really made this feel a lot less special. I'm not gonna lie, no sugarcoating that. But still, despite these leaks and despite the, reduced hype, so to speak, there were still some things that were so good that they are still worth talking about, some things that were not leaked and we learned of, and also a few things that were clarified in post interviews and post articles after the fact that have now given us quite a bit to talk about. So in this video, I'm going to give you my thoughts on all of them. I'm going to try to present them as quickly as I can. So it will be a nice recap of everything that is to come, and the good, the bad, and everything in between. So, the most important stuff, there's new content coming out. In the long term, we have 2 new games developed by independent studios other than Behavior. One of them will be a single-player, story-driven game. The other one will be a multiplayer co-op game. So, if you're looking forward to that, you've got that in the long-term horizon. We also have a new chapter, of course. This one is a sci-fi horror themed chapter called End Transmission. It features a new survivor called Gabriel Soma. We know not much about him at all. A new map, which happens on an alien planet with alien life and even ancient structures. I really like the way the exit gates look. It's really pretty. I'm a bit concerned that it might be a super cluttered map that will be ugly to the eyes and difficult for gameplay, but it does look very pretty. And of course, a new killer called the Singularity, which is an AI that went rogue and it's trying to kill its crew. This killer works in a very interesting way. He shoots out with his little gun pods that turn into cameras, and by looking through these cameras, he can lock onto the survivors and shoot them to infect them. This is an infection that they can pass on to other survivors as well if they grow close to each other. And with this infection comes a major downside. If he locks onto you from a camera, he will be able to immediately teleport to you, much like Freddy can teleport to Jens. He will teleport right next to you and presumably be in a really good position to maybe hit you right away. And they've also further clarified that survivors will have an ability to destroy these little pods and cameras by using EMPs, which I guess will be like a flashlight that you aim at the thing to destroy it, and it's like a special item, much like you have to pick up vaccines against Nemesis, you'll have to pick up this EMP against this killer, which is interesting. I like killers that force you to pick up items. Some people think that this will result in a very boring way of playing the game, just, putting your cameras on gens, but I do think it's at least interesting. So I'm very much looking forward to the next Tuesday where they'll do the PTB, and I'll be trying it on stream if you wanna stop by, if you can try out the PTB yourself. So on top of this, the big reveal that they saved for the end that was sadly already ruined, a new survivor is coming to DBD. It's Nicolas Cage, the actor himself, not in character, just the actor coming to DBD at a later time this year. It's also been confirmed that he will not have outfits from his movies. It will just be original outfits designed by the developers. And at least 2 sources, I think, have confirmed that his perks, which we know nothing about, will be exciting and will show his prowess as an actor, which is very, very interesting. He will also be fully voiced by the actor himself, who, by the way, one of the reasons he got into DBD and got into this whole thing is because his son is actually a big fan of the game, which I thought was really, really cute. And a further good news for some people is the fact that later down this year, we're going to have the usual string of chapters and killers and maps and so on. 2 of these new chapters will be licenses, and we've been told that this will be big, recognizable licenses. So, for those of you that have your sights out for a big licensed character, there will be one that will come with survivors and one that will come only as a single killer later this year. And, that could be whoever you think it's going to be. Next, maybe most important for me personally, we have a lot of gameplay changes announced. The most promising that we will very happy that it arrives is bots replacing disconnecting players. This is one of those things that once we'll have it, we will think to ourselves, how the hell do we live without this? So as you know, there are bots that exist in the game that you can play with already. They're not in a perfect state, but they definitely beat the situation where a survivor disconnects and you are now left with one person less in the team. So that's really good. Not much to say about that. They also teased a anti-camping measure. They've also further explained in a blog post released after the anniversary how it's going to work. Basically, this has 3 tiers. If a killer is within proximity to a hooked survivor, this will build up a meter that the killer doesn't see, but that the survivor does see. And if this killer is breached, if it reaches max, then the survivor automatically has a chance or gets the chance to escape the hook by themselves, even on stage 2. So it's like a free deliverance if you get camped. If you are within 5 meters very close, it builds up very quickly. If you are from 5, I think, to 16, it builds up a bit slowly. And once you get to a certain threshold, it doesn't build up anymore. This is affected by 2 things. If survivors are next to you by the hook, it builds up much slower. So there will never be a situation where you will get this by staying on the hook when you're chasing other people, presumably. And it also is completely disabled in the end game where, things are business as usual. Now, there are some concerns about how this can be implemented. If you make it too big in maps that have multiple floors, this could be a bad thing, and it could punish the killer for doing nothing. And if you make it too small, then it wouldn't work in the basement and so on. So they really need to nail the way this system works. But other than that, I think it's a really good change that will probably push the game in a healthier direction. Now, some people might be like, oh, they always help survivors, this and that. Some people get a bit mad whenever they see something that hurts their role and they don't look behind that. But the truth is, in Dead by Daylight, right now, camping is already very difficult if survivors are prepared. If they bring a certain perk or 2, camping completely goes out of the window. It's basically impossible to get any value out of it if they have multiple reassurances. So what this will do is probably make it so that survivors don't immediately lose a game if they didn't bring 1 perk or 2. So, with a bit of a rework on other mechanics and specific killers, I think this will be okay. It's still not going to stop people from camping very aggressively with, say, Cannibal. And if you unhook yourself with this measure, you can still be down in 2 hits. So there needs to be other changes that come with this. This is not just a thing they slap on and just let it be, but we will get to test this at some point later this year, and I think it's a good thing. They've also announced that this year, they're not looking to do a full perk meta shakeup the way they did last year. At first, I was a bit upset when I read this, but the truth is, the current DBD meta is in a much better spot, and maybe we don't need any mega aggressive changes. They have said that instead they're going to be looking at making more changes regularly, smaller changes regularly across perks on every patch. Now, what does every patch mean? Is it every 3 months, every month and a half, every minor patch? I don't know exactly, but it's a good thing, I guess. So maybe this is not as upsetting. Also announced was the fact that from now on, archives will have certain challenges that will involve using random perks. So you will have an option or a requirement on certain archives to do random perks, which I think is kind of fun. I don't personally like the idea of doing random perks because it almost makes it so that the developers don't have to bother balancing perks. Just make them random and, that way all the perks will be used. But other than that, I'm very happy with that. And this one has been asked for a lot. We finally get a perk search bar. You can type the name of the perk and it will show up. And furthermore, you can even type what it does or what the description is, and it will show up as well. So you can type the word generator and all the generator related perks will show up. This is amazing. It is very helpful, and it's been a long time coming. As a little side note, streamer JRM offered to pay $1,000 or £1,000 to charity if this feature was implemented like a year or 2 years ago. And he actually did it. So thank you, James, for your charitable contribution. Another thing that was mentioned is that the developers are looking at being a bit more involved with map balancing. And this is a good thing. Maps in DBD have been a horrible, rough corner, a rough edge that always gets brought up in any balance discussion. And they said some things that sound really good. Like they're not looking to make more super killer sided maps or super survivor sided maps. They're trying to get them all in the middle, and that they're going to do this more often, which is good. They've also announced that they'll be looking at farm maps, and in particular, they're going to be looking at the Fractured Cowshed and Rancid Abattoir. Now, it's no surprise to me why they're looking at the Fractured Cowshed. It's a huge map with incredibly well spread out safety that is super easy to play for survivors and very rough for killers, with an amazingly big gen spread and very consistent annoying features that hurt a lot of killers. So it makes it's no surprise at all that they would touch this map. But Rancid Abattoir is a bit of a weird one, because Rancid Abattoir is actually one of the better farm maps. And if you watch my tier list, you'll know that this map is, for the most part, fine. It's not disastrous. Now, one thing that's kind of wrong about this map is that the RNG can be a bit wild, and depending on what windows spawn where the gyms spawn, and how they line up with the cow tree, you can get some really nasty stuff. So this map is far from perfect. It's probably a good thing they're looking at it, and the reason why they're probably looking at it is because it's so similar to Cowshed, and they share assets, so one change that you do to one, you could do to the other relatively easily. But it's definitely not because it's a high priority map, and I expect other farm maps to also get axed or get touched. So overall, good thing. I do have some issues with the way they've reworked some maps. For the most part, this is very well, very much needed and very well received. Also, in an interview with Matthew, we did get teased that they will be introducing new gameplay mechanics in coming events that could become new game modes. So for those of you, myself included, that are looking forward to new game modes in DBD, we could see the seeds of that coming to the game in the next few months. For the other folks that are more interested in cosmetics, we have a lot of news on that front. The first and simplest one is that there will be a new cosmetic type added to the game called player cards. This will start to be giving out in the revs, with codes, with other stuff, I suppose. And these are the kind of things, well, we've had them in video games for many years now. It's the kind of thing that shows up when you highlight someone's profile, and it just gives a bit of personality, and that's it. Kind of cute. As it is tradition now, since last year, the anniversary event will feature a masquerade, and there will be new masks for, I think, 12 new characters. They are very pretty, and people are very excited about these. And also part of this masquerade, we've seen and been teased about some new cosmetics, including a Ghostface one that was a bit visible for a little bit. So you got that to look forward to. There's also new collections added that will be coming in the next few months related to the metal bands Slipknot and Iron Maiden. This will be masks for killers and shirts for survivors and the like. And I mean, it's a cool thing, I suppose. No, I don't have super strong feelings about this, but you know, apparently they will be centered around Eddie, which is the mascot band of Iron Maiden, and will be also inspired by the masks of the band Slipknot. So that looks pretty cool. They also featured Japanese concept artist Ikumi Nakamura, who you might know as the person that worked on Bayonetta, on Okami, Ghostwire Tokyo, a bunch of other projects. She's a bit of a celebrity in the game dev world, and she showed up there in person in the stream to talk about the skins that she had designed for DBD, and they are 3 really cool ones: one for Oni, one for Legion, one for Yui. Very pretty ones. They will be sets, and they'll be purchasable at some point in the future. They also featured other collections, other cosmetics made by artists in collaboration with DBD, and these are community artists, many of which we know and love. And one of them is Honey Bear, which is the person that did the art for our tier list and a bunch of other things that you might have seen on this channel elsewhere. And I also heard, I don't know why anyone would do this, but I also heard that Honey Bear has been getting some really nasty messages from people that, I don't know, for some reason have something against their art or their person. And I would really, really appreciate if you take just 1 minute to maybe drop them a follow and give them a bit of love to make up for that, nasty group of people that for some reason have something against them. That was very, very upsetting to hear. But I'm very, very happy that their art will be official in the game now somehow. Oh yeah, and one more thing, which is really, really stupid. Behavior is making a cosmetic about one of the old games called Naughty Bear, and it's a massive bear, I guess you could call it legendary cosmetic for the Trapper. And this is ridiculous. It's stupid. I don't know what to say about it, but I also learned, and then didn't say this on the stream, that this cosmetic will have its own unique Mori. And this is big. This is very, very big. They have never done this before on DBD main game. This is a very common thing in DBD Mobile, but never here. So this could open the door to skins now having their own Moris from now on, which is something to be very excited about if you care about it like I do. So yeah, that and the 2 new codes that we have going on right now, which give a charm and some blood points. With that, we basically wrap up what the anniversary was all about. Overall, now that I talk about it like this in a candid fashion, it's a lot nicer, and it's quite a lot of good stuff. We have a lot of gameplay changes and things to look forward to. But yeah, it's just a shame that it didn't have the same oomph, the same impact that it would have had if all of this came as a surprise. If I missed anything that you think is important, please let me know down below. And if there's anything in particular that you're excited for, or any opinion that you'd like to share, please let me know as well. I'll be reading the comments on this one quite a bit. Big hugs, and see you in the next one.